In this chapter, we're going to take a look at doing a road takeoff using the corridor features and functionality. We could have continued with the site takeoff like we were doing in the parking area and building and pond area along this road as well. We could have applied site improvements to this area, but we want to use this chapter to show you how you could just, if you're working on a road corridor or any type of corridor, how you could do it using these features here of creating additional instructions and materials. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started with this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to modify the template. Now we probably should have done this at the beginning when we started this template, but you can do it now. We can add to it afterwards. So I'm going to start with the first template. We're going to go in and edit those properties of it basically. So we're going to come in, we're going to edit the instructions. We're going to apply the layers of material into this this roadway. So the first thing I want to do is, because I have my conditionals, I'm going to add another conditional to end my first set of conditionals. So I'm just going to come in here and we'll just call this end finished ground, and we'll use the conditional of end, and we'll add that, and that'll just add it down here to end this conditional side slope for our project. And then what we'll do is we'll add in the other layers using the same process that we put in the original ground, but we're going to create some additional materials. So now that we have that defined, what we're going to do is come up to the edit corridor template panel here, and we're going to go to manage material layers. So we're going to come in here and I'm going to create some new materials. Our top finish ground is what the instructions here are being used to create that finish ground surface. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some new ones. So I'm going to add in my pavement layer of SF95, and I'm using that basically from my materials. So if I come over here to my materials, I'm going to come in under pavement, and you can see that I've got this SM95A is my material. I got a BM25, so we're going to use similar materials. So since we have it already set up, we're going to use that information. So SM95, and we'll create another new one, and we'll call this let's go back to that material manager to make sure, because we're going to use the same type of construction or similar type of construction. So if I go to my site improvements under pavement, let's look at the heavy duty concrete. We're going to have or not concrete but pavement. So we got our 95. We're not going to worry about the tack coat, and we're going to put in another layer of the BM25. So we'll go ahead and call that BM25, and then we've got our ag base, and then we've got our compaction. Okay, so we're going to close this. We're going to put in the pavement layer of BM25. Let's do that. We'll do another one. Let's go back, just make sure. I'm just checking on our heavy duty pavement. We've got our VDOT ag base and then our compaction. So VDOT ag base, and then we've got our 95% compaction. All right. So we'll close that. So now we've got these materials. So when we come in to add an offset and a slope, such as our first one we're going to add is offset elevation, you'll see that now we have those materials that we can select to define to our instructions. So the first one we'll do is we'll come from our first point, and we're going to offset at 0, and we're going to drop it down for our first layer, which was negative basically 2 inches. So we're going to put the 2 inches of our top coat there. The name will be just we'll just call it centerline. We'll just call it centerline pave layer 1, and we want to turn off the materials. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want this to actually be used in any surface. So I'm going to add that, and that's going to add a point below 2 inches below our main road, and that will be our starting point for this layer of material. So you can see it's showing up here under this pavement layer. Now from here, what we're going to do is define the same parameters that are in our slope up here for our pavement. All right, so we're going to come in, we're going to do an offset slope. We're going to go from 0.14. All right. We want to make sure that we put this, so we put it under side slope. We actually want to move this down below conditional, which is why it wasn't showing up in the list there. So when we drag and drop it under conditional, we now can build, we want to build off of this. All right, so we're going to come in and do the offset and slope. We're going to go from now 14, which is there. We're going to offset it our 12 feet, and our slope is going to be -2%. And this will just be EOP, let's call it EOP1. Now this is going to be the surface pavement layer, and then notice that we can define the type of material that's going to be above it. So the material, well, define the lane edge, that's the type of coat above, but down here is the material above. So we're going to come in and we're going to put in that is the pavement SM95A. Okay, so we're going to add that. And go through it and rebuild the surface. So you can see it's put in that 2 inches of material. Okay. We actually, let's go back to offset elevation. Yeah. So it's got our 2 inches of material there. And then we can come down, we can put in another instruction, this time connecting this one to this EOP. So we're going to do a connect, and we're going to go from node, let's go down to this point here, and we'll do a connect, and we'll go from node 15, and we're going to connect to node 3, and using that same pavement layer we'll add that instruction. So now we have that connection there. What we want to do is actually go back to our first one. Let's take a look at our first one and make sure, okay, so it is not defined with any material, so we want to define the other side of our pavement. So we're going to add in, we're going to come down here to the end of that last connection, we're going to add another instruction. So we'll come in here and we're going to change this to offset and slope, and we're going to go from the 0.14 again, which is our center line of pavement. We're going to offset it this time -12, and we'll go -2% for that cross slope. And the name, we'll just call this EOP to the right, or to the left actually. Actually we'll just call it EOP 1, or 2. We'll call it 2. Let's just call it EOP left 1. We should have called the other one right 1 just to keep them different. So that's going to be that pavement layer. Our material above, we want to make sure that we pick this, and we will add that instruction. So now we've got that pavement layer. Okay. Now again, depending on what you want to use for the shoulder, you could put pavement for the shoulder, you could put gravel for the shoulder. It's totally up to you. So I'm just going to do the layers of pavement here. The next piece that we'll put in is the next layer, which is a 2.5 of our BM25. Before we do that, we actually got to close this off. So let's make one more offset connection, and we will go from node of 16 to node of 7. So if we did have transitions and stuff, when this gets pulled out, so will our base layers as well. So we'll make that 16, and we will add that to close it out. Oops, not 16, 7. Make sure we put the right one, add that one. So again, we're just connecting it from here to here. We don't have to do anything across the top. It knows where the differences are. So now you can see here that in an area where we were originally in fill, now we're starting to get into cut when we start to apply the sub-base materials. So we'll do the similar process is we'll add another instruction, and let me cancel this. So we want to add an instruction. We want to add in another offset elevation. We're going to come from 14 this time, and we'll offset it 0, and our elevation will be negative 2.5 inches, and the name will be, we'll call it centerline pave 2, and that's going to be no material. We don't want any materials there. All right, so we can add that one. And let's just make sure, let's go back to this. We got EOP1 here, so I'm double clicking there. That's that connection, that's fine. Let's double click there. Let's make this EOP1 right. We'll save that and just clean this up to make sure that we have everything properly set. So this, that's undefined. So now we've got our 2.7 here, or 2.5 for 0.17. We're going to add another instruction. This instruction will be offset slope, and we'll go from 17. Offset this as well, 12 to the right, negative 2, and we'll call this EOPR2. And this is going to be our pavement BM25, which we will assign here as well. Now you can see it's not showing up in our list, but we know it's in our material table. So what we want to do is go to our material manager, and let's make sure that we have that assigned properly. So I'm going to come into here, I'm going to go to here. You can see that it's defined originally by area, where if we look at this one, you can see that it's defined by volume. So we want to make sure that we assign this, and when we did this originally, we probably didn't assign that as a volume material, so it didn't get accounted properly. So we'll go ahead and set that as the material and close. So now you can see that it shows up over here in our list. So I'll be able to select that, and we'll add that instruction. All right, we'll just do the same thing we did before. We're going to add a connect, and I'll go from 18 to 15 in this case. So I'll go from 18 to 15. I'll add that one. Really don't have to do anything above it because there isn't anything above it, so it's really just this piece that we're interested in. So we'll do another offset slope from 17. We'll offset it to the left 12. We'll go down negative 2. We'll give it a name, EOPR2. Same thing, material above, defining that. We'll add that. And then we'll add the connect. We'll go from 19 to 16. And we'll add that. So you're going to have to do this process on every single template that you created. So if we had done this originally when we made this first template, and then as we copied all these other templates, we would already have all this done in there. So you have to go through to each one of these in this case and make those adjustments. So it's just a matter of thinking through your workflow process, and I probably would have done this originally all at the beginning rather than having to come back and do it now. But again, for instructional purposes, we're showing it to you this way. Alright, so now that I've got my 2 layers of pavement, I can add in my other layers, and we'll show you that in another video.